Well, hey there, it's Catherine from Catherine Puller Designs. Welcome to episode number 5 in our holiday card making series. We're going to use the Holly Jolly stamp set and some pieces from cards that you've seen in previous episodes. So this was episode 2. We created this gorgeous watercolor background technique piece, well, 4 of them, and then we die cut the tree trimmings die out of them. And I mentioned that you might want to save those pieces for future cards. So you'll see those in just a little bit here. But first we're going to stamp a bunch of the little holly leaves. I'm a little bit obsessed with holly leaves for Christmas, so I was so excited when we were working on designing this stamp set with one of our illustrators. We have 3 different sizes of holly leaves, and then each holly leaf has 1 or 2 different patterns that you can stamp over the top. So it's really versatile because you can stamp like I'm doing now. You can just stamp in solid, you can stamp in pattern, or you can stamp with an ombre look. You can also do light color for the solid stamp, dark color for the pattern stamp over the top. You can get a lot of different looks just out of this one stamp image. With the ombre stamping, be sure to do your light color and then your dark color, and use your ink blending tool to blend a little bit in the middle. So then I'm going to stamp some of the little bows, and my Rockin red ink pad was a little dry, so I grabbed my ink refill and refreshed it. So just a quick little re-inking there, and my Rockin red was ready to go. And then I'm using my dies to die cut all the little images, so I'm just going to punch out a bunch of them. And if you cut out too many for your project, well, then you have them for next time. Then comes in a leftover piece from the other project. This is from the watercolor Wreath. I had an extra strip from when I cut down all the panels, and they are perfect for die cutting out the holly leaves. So you can use the holly leaves with the pattern alone. You can use it with the solid stamp alone. You can use it with the solid stamp and the pattern, or go ahead and just die cut it from a watercolor technique piece, and it looks amazing. Okay, so all this talk about the leaves. Meanwhile, I'm making peppermints. So this is our peppermint twist cover plate, and I adore this cover plate. It's a great piece to add onto a card, but when you take the little die cuts, they're so cute. They are going to fit perfectly inside our second to the smallest circle die. And if you die cut those in white and then add the little peppermint twists on inside, and then you have a little peppermint. Well, it's so cute. Now, before we go any further, let me show you the card that inspired this card that I'm making here. Erika created this card and everyone went absolutely nuts over it. So I decided to case her card, and she used a spa color palette. So those are muted, kind of grayed down undertones in the ink colors. And then I used very highly saturated, vibrant inks from our party line. So Lime Rickey and Grass Skirt and Rockin Red. And here I'm just assembling all of my pieces, the peppermints and the little tree trimmings and the holly leaves. And then I'm going to, she used all the little pieces to kind of go around her rectangle card layer. And I thought it would be fun to create a wreath with these pieces. So I took one of our round blocks and I lightly traced it with a pencil onto my card layer. And then I started adding on all the leaves, or not all of them, some of them. So adding on leaves, adding on peppermints, adding the little bow, and then I'm going to tuck some tree trimmings in there and just kind of play with the arrangement a little bit. I used some lighter colored leaves, some darker ones, mixed them in. I used some patterned and some solid and some watercolored, and just interspersed them around the wreath. Then I added in my peppermints and started gluing pieces in, and then I started tucking in the little pieces of the tree trimming dies. Some of my pieces are glued on, and some I used foam tape, so then it gives some dimension to the wreath. I think that adds a little bit of interest. I have some holly berries, and I also have some sequins kind of on standby. When I'm creating a focal point like this and I'm doing layering, I try not to add my liquid glue to the entire back of my die cut image, because if I just do a little piece and then I want to tuck something under it, I'm able to do that because the whole thing is not glued down. And then when I use the foam tape, I'm careful to try to remember not to press it down too hard, because I don't want it to get completely stuck to my project and then I won't be able to move it around or change any of the positioning. That definitely happens to me sometimes. It's even happened to me in this holiday card series where I've had to kind of rip my card apart to change the arrangement. But this one, I think I did a pretty good job of managing that. And the tree trimming pieces were actually really easy to tuck in underneath the holly leaves and in amongst the peppermint twists. And they're just so cute. I use the Vienna Sequins. They have some really fun red sequins in there, along with some clear stars. So I thought the stars were really fun to tuck in and amongst the holly and the branches. I'm really crazy about how this wreath came out, and I can think of so many more ways to use this layering and these pieces, the tree trimmings, the holly, the candies. You could just use a couple little pieces and adorn a sentiment. You could do a layer all the way down the side of your card. Lots of great ways. So making a swag. Oh gosh, tons of things you can do. So let's finish the card off. A little bit of peppermint stick patterned paper along the bottom. That is from the Better Not Pout paper pack. And then I wanted a little extra trim there, so I used those decorative edge dies. I ran my Rockin red ink pad across my cardstock to make Rockin red cardstock, and then just added that to the bottom for a little extra, little something there. And then I'm using the holiday one-liners embossed in white on black cardstock. I use the sentiment banner dies to die cut it. Very Merry Christmas. And that does it. I love how this card came out. I hope you guys are inspired and you will use these ideas on some cards of your own. Be sure to stay tuned for episode number 6, because I have something special coming up for you. A special couple techniques on the card with some new products from our October release. So I can't wait for that. So we will see you again really soon.